Good morning, students. Welcome to the class. In this video, I'm going to show you force acting on a dielectric between the plates of the capacitor. Or else you can also call this topic as motion of dielectric between the plates of the capacitor. Okay, students, before entering the class, let us visualize how a dielectric will experience force between the plates of the capacitor. You see, here one diagram is given. In this, initially some portion of dielectric is inserted between the plates of the capacitor. You see, guys, only some portion of the dielectric, little portion of the dielectric is inserted between the plates of the capacitor. Now, see in the diagram here, force F is acting because of induction. See, students, what happens as soon as a dielectric is inserted between the plates of the capacitor, then because of induction here negative charges will be induced. Okay, between the negative charges will be induced, okay, just beside the positive plate, and similarly positive charges will be induced in the dielectric just beside the negative plate. So that all shown in the figure, right? And due to which what happens is net force will act in this direction into the dielectric plate. This is a mechanism, friends, very simple. As soon as you, if you want, I will draw and show you also. See, guys, suppose if you keep any dielectric between the plates of the capacitor like this, I'm taking, right? This is a dielectric, only some portion is inside. Okay, then because of induction, suppose if this is positively charged plate, this is negatively charged plate, then because of induction here negative charges will be induced inside the dielectric, and here positive charges will be induced inside the dielectric. So obviously negative charges will be attracted by positive plate, positive charges will be attracted by negative plate. That is the thing happening here. So let us consider this is force F and this is force F. Now you see, since both are simultaneously attracted on either sides, due to which what happens, net force will be into the plates of the capacitors. What is the net force on the dielectric, students? It will be into the plates of the capacitor. Therefore, the dielectric starts moving into the plates of the capacitor. That's why it is also said to be motion of dielectric between the plates of the capacitor. That's it, students. It is very easy to visualize and in fact very easy to understand also. Got it? Now, because of this force, then what happens? The dielectric starts slowly moving into the plates of the capacitors. Okay, see how it is moving. So it will move and then comes and falls out of the capacitor plates. I repeat, it will move, okay, and then falls out of the capacitor plates. Okay, will it happens? No, it is against to the nature. Just as a flow, I explained that it never falls out of it. Okay, it will completely occupy between the plates of the capacitor. I repeat, students, dielectric due to this force will never fall out of the plates of the capacitor. Understood? Only it will travel until it completely occupies between the plates of the capacitor. Because, students, during its motion, when the dielectric completely occupies, okay, the space between the plates of the capacitor, then that is treated as equilibrium position. I repeat, students, when dielectric completely occupies the space between the plates of the capacitor, then that is equilibrium. No force acts on it. Net force acting on it will become zero. Therefore, the dielectric will never come out of it and it will never fall. Understood? It will never fall. If you want, I will show you. See, here we have a diagram. See, students, if you consider that, so this is going to happen because of the force. See, because of the force, initially this will enter. Okay, here the arrow is showing clearly. Initially, only X portion is present between the plates of the capacitor. Due to the net force, it starts moving into the plates of the capacitor. Right. After coming here, this is completely occupied now. between the plates of the capacitor. Here it is a equilibrium state. Net force acting on it will be 0 because this end will not be attracted, this end will not be attracted. But listen students, due to inertia of motion, I repeat, but because of due to inertia of motion, here what happens is slightly the dielectric will come out of the plates like this, slightly because of inertia of motion. Even though net force on it is 0, it won't stop immediately. After occupying completely between the plates of the capacitor, it won't stop immediately. It slightly comes out of it in this way. So as soon as it comes out of the plate, again it starts attracting in this way. See students, whatever the mechanism happened in bringing the dielectric into the plates of the capacitor in this direction, the same thing continues in reverse direction. See here, means this side it will be attracted. I will show you. I'll show you. See here. See, once it completely occupies between the plates of the capacitor, okay, net force on it becomes 0, students, right? And after that, because of inertia of motion, it slightly comes out of the plates like this. It came out of the plates. But again, due to induction, it is attracted in this way and it is attracted in this way, and net force will act like this. So then what happens? It again starts moving backward. Is it okay? That means let us visualize students that dielectric will make oscillations between the plates of the capacitor. What happens? It makes oscillations. Now let us check whether the oscillations are simple harmonic or not. That is the only option we have. But we can conclude if it is SHM, then fine. Otherwise, it becomes only oscillatory. So try to visualize completely, students. When small portion is kept between the plates of the capacitor, then because of induction, the dielectric will experience the force due to which it starts traveling between the plates of the capacitor. But when it completely occupies the space between the plates of the capacitor, then the net force on it becomes 0, and that is treated as a equilibrium position. Okay, this is equilibrium position, but due to inertia of motion, slightly it comes out of it like this. Due to which what happens? It will be attracted again into the plates. That means always the net force on the dielectric will be into the plates, not out of the plate. That's why dielectric will never fall out of it. That's it, students. This is a visualization. This is an idea. Before starting the mathematical part, this idea helps you to understand the mathematical part effectively. Okay, students, let us go back to the mathematical part. Try to derive the expression for the force. Okay, right. Yes, see. See, let us derive one general formula for the force. Let us consider initially some x portion is inside like this. This is the initial state I am considering, students. X portion is inside, total length is L, no? Now here we can say that this L minus X portion is occupied with air, and X portion is occupied with the dielectric of dielectric constant K. Let us consider. Now you see, then we can say that if you take this as a capacitor, then you can treat it as the combination of two capacitors connected in parallel. I repeat, friends, you can treat the effective capacitance of the given system as the combination of two capacitors connected in parallel. Okay, one is I'm taking C1 is a capacitor filled with air of gap L minus X, and C2 is a capacitor filled with dielectric. Okay, guys, having dielectric constant K. I repeat, listen, when small portion X is kept inside the capacitor, let us consider it is treated as the combination of two capacitors. If you want to visualize, if you want to analyze it further, you can treat it. Is easy to analyze it further by treating it as the combination of two capacitors C1 and C2, in which C1 is filled, C1 is a capacitance, okay, that contains air, and C2 is a capacitance that contains dielectric. Now see, from here itself you can write C1 is equal to, okay, since it is filled with air, epsilon naught area. If I consider length of the capacitor as L and B as the width of the capacitor, then I can write it as epsilon naught b into L minus x divided by D. D is the separation between the plates of the capacitors. I repeat, student, if I treat C1 as the capacitance, okay, with air, then you can write the C1 as epsilon naught b into L minus x by D. I have used the general formula known to us, students, epsilon naught A by D. In place of area, I have taken length into breadth. That's it. I have not done anything magic here. It is within our control only. Next, C2 is the capacitance with the dielectric. No, K epsilon naught B into X by D. Like this you can write. Okay. We can write C2 as K epsilon naught B into X by D. Now, why I am doing all these things means, if I want to calculate the net force acting on the capacitance, this is going to be du by dx, right? Du by dx is going to be the net force acting on the dielectric between the plates of the capacitor, where U is the energy stored in the capacitor with the dielectric. Okay, U is the energy stored in the capacitor with dielectric. Therefore, U can be written as, students, here half C V square, where V is a constant voltage or constant EMF applied across the plates of the capacitor. Okay, students. But for finding C, we can use this formula. Therefore, C is equal to C1 plus C2. Okay, students. We have treated this combination, the complete system, as the combination of two capacitors, one with air, other with dielectric. Okay, guys. For air capacitance, we can write C1 as in this way. For dielectric capacitance, we can write C2 as like this. Now add the two. C is equal to C1 plus C2 now. On adding the two and taking necessary things common, you will get it as C is equal to C1 plus C2. No, this is C1. I hope in both we can take epsilon naught B by D as common, students. Check it out. Epsilon naught B by D as common. Then you can write it as L minus X, right? Plus Kx you can write. Okay, guys. Now, finally, the effective capacitance can be written as epsilon naught B by D into, you can write it as L plus into X, you can take again common, L plus into K minus 1. That's it, students. This is the effective capacitance of the given system when X portion is inside between the plates of the capacitor. I repeat, students, here this is a effective capacitance. C is going to be the effective capacitance when only X portion is present between the plates of the capacitor. Okay, guys. Now try to calculate this. Anyway, V is a constant here, right? Half is constant. If you want to differentiate this energy, half CV square, substitute the value of C and go ahead, right? If you substitute the value of C here, then let us check it out. Every one of you, please copy the content as I'm going to rub it, right? As I'm going to rub it, please copy it on if you feel it is required. Then see, here I'm taking F is equal to minus du by dx. Okay, guys. Now, this is equal to, I'm going to take it as U as half CV square now. Then minus d by dx of, now half CV square, half into C, I'm going to write it as epsilon naught B by D, right, into L plus, okay, L plus K minus 1 into X. This is a thing I'm going to write here. Okay. See, we have substituted into V square. Over substitution is completed. Okay. Now, if you do the differentiation, then V cannot be differentiated. It is constant. Epsilon naught B, all these were constant. So I can write epsilon naught B, even V square also outside, by 2D, right? It remained as it is. Only this portion will get differentiated. Differentiation of L will become 0, plus differentiation of X will become 1. Therefore, you will get only K minus 1 inside. Anyway, here minus will be there, students. Minus indicates that attracting force. Every time no need of keeping minus, because the significance of minus is attracting. The dielectric is attracted between the plates of the capacitor. That is going to be the significance of negative, right, students? Finally, after simplification, you are going to write the force as epsilon naught b v square into k minus 1 divided by, you can write it as 2d. That's it, students. This is the force acting on the dielectric between the plates of the capacitor. And because of this force, the dielectric starts oscillating. Now listen, students, this is not satisfying the condition of restoring force for SHM. Okay, this is a condition of restoring force for the body to execute SHM. No? Therefore, we can say that the motion of the dielectric is only oscillatory but not SHM. I repeat, students, if you visualize the motion of the dielectric, then it is going to be only oscillatory but not SHM, because it is not satisfying the necessary restoring force condition for SHM. Okay, students. So this is force acting. Suppose sometimes you will be given area of the plate, students. In that case, we will take area of the plate as length into breadth. No. So in that situation, breadth is equal. If you want, you can replace that with A by L, because in the diagram we have not represented anywhere B. No, L is anywhere length represented. Okay, suppose if area of the plate is mentioned, this plate, then you can replace B with A by L. That is up to you. Okay, or according to the problem you can go ahead. And one more thing, students, what I want to tell you is, for getting more perfection on the numericals related to this topic, you can prefer the problems from Hesse Verma. Okay, you take out Hesse Verma, take out exercise in Hesse Verma, and try to solve last three sums, 66, 67, 68. These three sums are based on same force on dielectric or motion on dielectric. The topic is capacitors. Don't try to find it in the electrostatics or somewhere else. In capacitors, Hesse V. Okay, exercise 66, 67, 68, Hesse Verma. Okay, guys. So these three problems really help you how to help you in understanding the way of problem. Okay, understanding the way of problems that are going to come on this topic. Okay, nice, friends. Next, anyway, you take one more example also. Anyway, we have concluded it as oscillatory. No, we have concluded it as oscillatory. Let us find the time taken for one complete oscillation. Okay, guys, let us find the time taken for one complete oscillation. Right, you see, because here one example is given. To get more clarity on this, let us read this example. Dielectric slab is released from rest. Prove that the slab will execute periodic motion and find its time period. Okay, already we have proved that it is not SHM only, oscillatory. So this is going to be the nature of oscillation. We have seen it already. Okay, guys. Now try to calculate the time period of oscillation. For that to happen, students, here make use of kinematic equation. S is equal to half AT square, right? And in this, let us consider T is the time taken, okay, to take the dielectric from here to here until completely occupied. The time taken is equal to T you take. Because students, here you can define T as the time taken to go from one extreme end to the mean position. Okay, guys, this is treated as a mean position. When dielectric is completely occupied between the plates of the capacitor, treat it as a mean position. This is one extreme end, right? And this is going to be the other extreme end. So let us consider T is the time taken, right? Then this is going to be the displacement or amplitude. Here, according to our assumption, I can take S as L minus X. Okay, students, because we have assumed the instant at which X portion initially lies inside the capacitor. Obviously, L minus X is occupied with air. Therefore, in order to occupy complete space between the plates of the capacitor, the dielectric has to travel L minus X. So take S as L minus X. Therefore, T is equal to, friends, directly you can write 2 of L minus X, right, by A. That's it. Now, after getting time, the full time period is going to be the Here you can treat T as the 1/4. Okay, full time period is going to be the 4T. Because see, time taken from one extreme to mean position is nothing but T by 4. Time taken to go from one extreme to mean position is nothing but what it is, students? T by 4. This you will study in the oscillations. Therefore, the total time period is going to be 4T. And here, acceleration is equal to, you can write it as F by M. And here, ma is going to be the mass of dielectric material that is oscillating. Okay, guys? F already we have found, no? Therefore, you can write acceleration as epsilon naught b square. If you want, you can write like this: epsilon naught b v square, right, into k minus 1, okay, by 2d m, right? And if you want, you can substitute b is equal to a by l. If a is given, that will be up to you, students. According to the data, you have to proceed. So in this, a is going to be this one. So finally, after substituting all the values, you're going to get the time period of this oscillation as 8 into, you can solve, students, you will get it easily, very simple. 8 into, you're going to get in the given situation L minus X MLD, you can write, by epsilon naught A V square, okay, epsilon naught A V square into K minus 1. Okay, students, this is going to be the complete time period. And if you want to take exactly this kind of problem, you can refer Hesse Verma, you can refer Hesse Verma 68th problem. 68th problem is asking directly the time period of oscillation. So after doing the necessary calculations, you are going to get this as the time period of oscillation. Okay, students, I think this lecture will be help you to understand the behavior of dielectric between the plates of the capacitor. Okay, guys, thanks for attending the class. Bye bye. Take care. See you again.